the biggest trend is just continuing to grow at a rapid rate. I don't have anyone in my network saying, "Hey, Mark, it's starting to slow down or it's declining. Like, what's happening?" So if I was an auditor, I would be really thinking about ways that you could, try to develop some insight around, the business and fraud, and how can you like share that insight to your management and to the stakeholders you work with. Things that I encourage people to think through are like, if your company's growing but your fraud rate is not growing, like, understand why. Is that because your like protection department is so good, or is it that like you're just not really identifying fraud and it's living somewhere else in some type of credit loss, or just accounts payable that's going out, your account payable number is big but you're not catching the fraud that's in it. The other thing is, if you have data on the different like fraud schemes you're seeing, like, how are they shifting over time? I think that's one thing that like in banking that we obsess about, because we have limited capacity, and sometimes you're focused on first party fraud where there's not really a good customer there. But then third party fraud might flare up because of a ring that like has taken over a bunch of customers' accounts after a data breach. But like monitoring and just observing, like, how is the fraud like schemes that your company's exposed to like shifting over time, and does that make sense with like the investments that your company's making and strategy and like platforms in the future? So I think those are a couple of ways to think about it. And then maybe like just throw the lens on there of like, what's the impact to the customer based on those like fraud experiences. And that doesn't only have to be in banking. It could be someone who is like artificially pricing products, so someone's just paying more for our service or anything else that they're consuming. So shifting from like, how does it impact the business, to how does it impact your customers, is also another thing that you can bring analytics to, and the auditors can sit down with like people in the business and have just an open discussion on that is trying to just gain insight, build learning, and where possible, maybe add some like nuggets back to their stakeholders on like what they see